Georgetown counties, we welcome you to Sound Off. Now, Sound Off is heard weekly on your favorite radio station. It is our goal at Sound Off to always deal with topics that are relevant to you, the community, and relevant to our young people. On this morning, we're really excited. We have a very good event that's going to be vital to the community happening on April 27th. And last year, the approach was law enforcement, and of course, it still will be. But we're excited to have two very strong and powerful and intelligent gentlemen, young men. Are y'all young? Can I call y'all young men? 27 Holland. We're honored to have as our very special guest Mr. Lee Bellamy with the Youth Resurrection Incorporation, Peace Ministry, and also Craig Conwell representing Upward. We'd like to say first good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, sister.
And at Sound Off, we can't start the show without giving props to these wonderful Sound Off team members. My name is Claudine Lance Schofield, but more importantly, Sound Off crew, would you like to introduce yourselves at this time?
What's really good? It's your girl, Jonica.
What's really good? This is Rick Wine. How are y'all?
And again, this morning's topic is really important. Horry County, get ready because next Saturday, Craig, we were talking before we got on the air. I like to call it a day of empowerment. Last year, the focus was gun buyback, but we're going to talk about the fact that it's called the Stop the Violence Peace Festival and Countywide Community Safety Rally. Bring down violence, lift up peace. I like that.
You like it?
I like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I guess the first thing I want you guys to do is, Mr. Bellamy, let's not assume that Horry and Georgetown counties know exactly who Lee Bellamy is. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself at this time?
Sure. I'm Lee Bellamy, and I'm the CEO of the Youth Resurrection Incorporation. And my story is I have a personal story that deals with this situation. And my story is when I was a teen, I was in and out of prison because of my negative attitude. From DJJ to the prison system, I wind up on death row in 1986, and I stayed on death row 3 years. And after that, I was in the system 24 years altogether. And God blessed me out of that. And I promised myself and I promised God, when I get my feet on the ground, I would do everything humanly possible to stop some kid from going to prison. And today it is very violent out there, but we are doing everything we can to kind of uplift peace.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about, Mr. Bellamy. We appreciate you being here. Y'all, let's give it up for Mr. Bellamy. Yeah. And of course, Brother Craig Conwell. You know, I know you have a personal interest in what's going on in Horry County, so let's talk a little bit about who is Mr. Craig Conwell.
I'm just a young brother who's trying to be a humble servant. I'm a part of Upward, which is United People Working Against Random Destruction. I want to thank you, Brother Lee, for your powerful words and your powerful testimony, because this young man has a testimony because he's actually lived what others are striving towards, unfortunately. But he's here to make a difference, and I want to thank you for that, brother. I want to thank you for being on this show. This gun buyback program and the anti-violence initiative is exactly what is needed in Horry County. It's needed in Georgetown County. It's needed in every county in the state of South Carolina and the nation. And I, for one, am trying to be a servant in the cause of peace, freedom, justice, and equality in hopes that we all can stem the tide of crime and violence.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. So, and I know I definitely echo everything that you said, Craig. But let's talk a little bit about last year. It was just strictly the gun buyback. Right. Of course, we held it at the National Guard Armory and the Father's Place. But this year, we will have the event at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church located on Granger Road here in Conway. Mm-hmm. But, of course, based on the information I gave, it's not just gun buyback, but it's a peace festival and countywide community safety rally.
Right.
Bring down violence, lift up peace. So let's talk a little bit about what we can expect or what the community can expect when they come to Friendship on next Saturday, April 27th.
Okay. What you can expect is to turn in your weapons if you have some. That's the first thing we would like for you to do.
Okay.
There will be a up to $300 gift card will be given to those who bring in weapons. $50 for rifles, long stem rifles, $100 for the handguns, and $300 for automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons. So if you have an AK-47 or AR-15 or an Uzi 9mm with laser sighting, or whatever you have that's automatic, you will get $300 if you turn that in. If you got a handgun, you'll get $100. Long stem rifle, $50. So make sure you bring those weapons. And we just won't have you come in and stop, drop, and roll away.
Right.
No, we want you to stop and partake of some of the vendors that we'll have set up in the church so that you can stop by and get the information that you need for any kind of services that you think someone in the community desires to have. We have several organizations that are sponsoring this event, and Sister Claudine Schofield will definitely run that off in a few minutes.
Right.
So we definitely want you to come there and receive information, receive knowledge, because knowledge is empowerment. So if you got knowledge, you got some power. And that's what we.
Okay,
That's
what
we
you
aim
have
to
for
do.
him, Ray?
Okay, when you said y'all were taking semi-automatic guns, something like clicked in my head. What are regular people doing with those kind of guns? So, like, what happens if the guns are hot? Like, they committed crimes with them. Do y'all check, like, do background checks on the people?
Not on the people.
No?
You can
Okay.
drop those weapons off anonymously. That's what this gun buyback program is about. You can drop those weapons off anonymously. We're not going to check the person who dropped the weapons off. All they're going to do is take those weapons and destroy it. But this is your opportunity. If you have a weapon, turn it in. If it's anonymous, nobody's going to be checking you out to see if you, in fact, committed a crime with that weapon. Now, I'm sure if that weapon is hot, that's really an answer that the police agencies should have.
Right.
I'm not up here to represent them. I'm here to represent Upward. So I think that would be a good question for them to answer. But as my understanding is that if you committed a crime with that weapon, if it's anonymous, I don't know whether or not
no
they'll be
questions asked.
right.
I think
That's
you just turn it in.
right.
Yeah, that's what it was last year. And of course, we can't negate the fact that Horry County Police and Conway City Police is definitely leading this, but we as community people wanted to be involved in this as well.
Right. But actually, it's a community-led event.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But we
With
can't.
police.
That's why Horry County Police and City County would City of Conway and Horry County would be able to answer that.
Right, and the sheriff's
Yeah,
department.
right, and Sheriff's Department. Okay, Jonica.
Well, I heard you say you were going to destroy them. I want to know because I'm curious about things blowing up. How are you going to destroy those guns?
I don't have a clue because I'm not with the police agencies.
And what about the bullets? Could we not sell those to the army or something? I'm pretty sure they need some bullets.
The Army needs bullets?
They might. I'm into recycling. Let's stay green.
So, Sister Joy, I don't know what they're going to do with the bullets.
Right, exactly. What I want to ask you, Mr. Bellamy, is someone that's done 24 years in prison. How important do you think having gun buybacks and the fact that we're trying to get guns and weapons off the street, why is that so important to the well-being of Horry County citizens, Georgetown County, or just anyone alive? Why is that so important?
Well, it's very important because a gun is very dangerous. And to take a gun and put in the hands of a young man or a young woman who do not have no knowledge of what they're really doing with it is a very, very dangerous situation. Much like my situation, I had a gun, but I did not know. I wasn't taught to use that gun in this proper manner. And so I misused the gun. And by misusing the gun, we see it every day. Our community is very violent. And if we do not do something to try to help someone, take them off the street, then we're going to see lots and lots of more of this violence. Kids shot down in the street, other kids hurt, and then a mother at the courthouse fixing to lose that same kid all over again. We're going to lose this if we don't do something about it. It is very important.
Okay. And based on, we watch the news and we live here in Horry County. We've had several incidents, shootings and acts of violence. And so I think it's a timely, this is absolutely timely in terms of we need to do things like this. But Craig, what is your take? I know you have a passion for especially African-American males, but what do you think, your opinion is, where does the breakdown come? Nobody's born to say, I want to be a murderer. Right. So where does that breakdown come?
Well, the breakdown comes not with the children. The breakdown comes with the adults. We have a responsibility to impart knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that will empower our young people. And you have a responsibility, young people, to listen when we impart knowledge and wisdom and understanding. So if you choose to rebel down the road to the devil's home, I want to say something that will rhyme with rebel, but I can't say it on this show. Then you are doing yourselves, your mother and father, your grandparents, and your community a disservice. So you have to take responsibility on your shoulders. Even if no adult teaches you, you should have the unmitigated gall to make sure that you aspire to be higher than those in the gutter. You should aspire to stay out of the gutter.
That's right.
So that you will have no excuses for failure. Because failure, in your case, is not an option. And failure,
right,
in our case as adults, to our youth, is not an option. So if we have to drive them to be right, then we must take courage as adults to confront our youth intelligently to lift them up, particularly our males.
That's right. Okay, and what is your take on that, Mr. Bellamy?
My take is already as a black young man, you have 3 strikes against you, and those 3 strikes is deadly already, and you become a target. And if someone is there to help you and to guide you, then you should be more than willing to participate and do something to help save your own life, because this is a cruel world out there, and it is no piece of pie. Mm-hmm. We think it is. We think it's cool to be thuggish like and walk around with your pants down, and these communities is really tore up. And if we don't do something about it as adults, we're going to see even more of what we have been witnessing. And I'm sure, just like me, none of you in here is pleased with what you see out there in those communities.
You're right.
And so we must do everything humanly possible to make sure it becomes better. And again, failure is not an option.
That's right.
Okay. I do agree. Ray, what did you have, sweetie?
Well, to me, it kind of seems like the problem is coming from people who aren't properly trained to use guns. If I'm not being out of line or anything. So, would y'all opposed to educating people? Well, not just any and everybody, but like maybe people who qualify or meet certain qualifications to be able to handle a gun. So that way we wouldn't have so many, like reckless people out in the streets with guns using them.
Well, I think that if you have the best trained people teaching us how to use guns, a mind that's full of self-hatred and anger will kill anyway. So it's not the gun that is doing the killing. It's those of us who have the mindset to pick up that weapon and turn it on one another to destroy another human life.
That's right.
Particularly when you're full of so much self-hatred in the black community. The problem in the black community is not the guns.
That's right.
It is the lack of love amongst ourselves and one another. That's the number one problem. So this is 2 and 3-fold. It's not just the gun. It's spiritually. It's economically. Mm-hmm. It's institutionally. Because we've been institutionalized into self-hatred, and we are acting that out on ourselves and one another.
Once again, Horry and Georgetown counties, you're listening to Sound Off with our very special guest, Mr. Lee Bellamy and Mr. Craig Conwell. We'll be right back.